Welcome back to the sweatshop. Today we're going to be working on this 2008 Volkswagen Golf. What we're doing on the Volkswagen is we are replacing the starter. I'll give you a little bit of a soundtrack of what the issue is, so if you are hearing this, you know exactly why you should not repeatedly try to start your car if it doesn't crank over, because it will destroy your flywheel. This is not the starter for the Volkswagen. This here is a Subaru prop because, well, the starter that I need is unknown to my starter rebuilder, and yeah, so I've got to pull that guy out first in order to know which one we actually need. Now, that being said, this is not a job that is extremely hard. You can do it definitely in the driveway. You just need a few, hand tools and whatnot in order to do the job. I'm not even sure what those are, but I will tell you throughout the video what tools you need exactly. Of course, if you are doing this like me in your driveway, well, I'm in my garage, but that's here nor there. It's still going to be a coal slab of concrete or asphalt that you have to get onto, unfortunately, to fix this stupid car. Employ the use of a jack stand when using a jack so that you don't die underneath your car, because that would suck. Of course, for those of you who have watched my videos in the past, you will notice that my parts table is slightly different today. That's because we are using the engine. The reason being is because it is a snow day outside and I have rammed everything in my shop towards the front so that I could fit this guy here inside the back. So this is our parts table. For those of you who are newly watching my channel, you're probably going to find that a useless and weird bit of information. Hopefully you find it somewhat entertaining. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. All right, let's jack this thing up. Now, in case you're wondering where I jack it up from, it is right there. Essentially, that is the cradle or subframe portion where your lower control arm, the rear of the lower control arm, bolts into. Now, if your car isn't lowered, which it probably is because, well, it's a Volkswagen, most of these things get lowered anyhow. That's not the point. The point is you'd stick a piece of wood or something nice and soft, because steel on steel isn't always the best idea. But if you don't have a choice, well, it's not a problem. Go ahead and jack it up. To get you this shot, my jack is now hindered by the camera, so I'm going to move it and then, yeah, jack it up. What the fuck was that? I don't like it when it makes them sounds, It's getting me all scared. And that's exactly why you don't crawl underneath the damn car without a jack stand, because if it falls on you, well, I hope you have life insurance. Especially when you're living the low life. That doesn't work. There's no chance unless you're like a couple inches thick. This thing is only like 2 weeks old. Or less, and yeah, this is one of the cons to living the low life. You just bash the shit out of everything. So yeah, don't run your car so low. Anyhow, what we're gonna do now is set our jack stand, this guy here, off in the distance. Oh, fuck you. There we go. And now what you want to do is slowly lower the vehicle. Do not ever be quick with the jack, because what happens is, well, it can fall off and that thing can easily transfer its weight onto one side, and then the vehicle can come down, and then yeah, again, you die. Now, because I have the jack stand relatively close to the center of the vehicle, I'm going to be keeping the jack in place. As you saw, the jack separated from the vehicle, took the complete weight off of the jack, and then I've just given it a pump to sort of keep the jack there in case, for whatever reason, something wants to shift. Now what we need to do is turn our attention to our starter. What we're looking at here is our starter motor. Up top there is our solenoid, and this wonderful thing is our flywheel. Now, when this thing fails, like you'll hear in a second, this guy gets damaged, and when it does, it's going to cost you a lot of money to replace it because your transmission has to get separated. So we'll show you, so that you don't continue to make the same mistake by trying to start it, what you should listen for. Hit it, Godfrey. Okay. That noise there is your starter motor not fully engaging, or the starter gear not fully engaging with the flywheel. And you can see here there is already some damage to our flywheel. I don't see any chunks that are taken out of it, but it's not looking pretty. So you don't want to have the same thing happen to you. Before you go ahead and start to take out your starter motor, your next step, which is very crucial because you don't want to screw anything up, is to go ahead and disconnect your battery. Now, to go ahead and disconnect your battery, you're going to have to pull this cover off. There is a tab like this on either side. Most times after years and years of use, they never get put back properly. This one here, we had to struggle with to get back in properly. And luckily for us, one side's already unclipped. Unclip the other side, pull it out of the way, grab yourself a 10 mil. Now, with a battery, it is imperative that you understand how to disconnect and connect the battery properly, because if you screw things up, you can really create a lot of havoc for yourself. So when you are disconnecting your battery, always disconnect the negative cable first. When you are connecting your battery, you want to connect your positive cable first. That's because you don't want any sort of potential sparking action to happen around your positive terminal, because, well, I've done a video on that, so you can take a look at that video if you really want to know why. Just, you know, for your own safety, do as I'm telling you. You don't have to disconnect this one right now, but might as well so I don't forget. That guy's all bent. We're gonna have to fix that guy. Make sure you set your cables aside so there's no chance of them coming into contact with the terminal, because that would not be fun. Now let's turn our attention back to that stupid starter. All right, so what we need to do is go ahead, disconnect this guy here, disconnect this guy here. Now, from experience that happened a couple weeks ago, this guy here had a little bit of a leak. From the transmission side, it was pumping a little bit of ATF out of this thing, and that's been happening for quite a while. It's not a huge leak and doesn't really need to be fixed, but in attempting to see whether we could fix it or if it was just a connector here or what it was, when we disconnected this thing, the gasket was overly expanded. So when trying to reconnect it, it was a royal pain in the ass. So if you have the same issue, you'll need to remove the gasket and trim a little bit off of it so that you can fit the stupid thing into place properly. Now, if you can't, you'll need to replace that gasket. You don't want to just take it out of there. It's a bad idea. Okay, so that being said, grab your flat screwdriver and just work the top of this guy back and then pull it off, just like so. It's definitely not hard. With the Volkswagens, if they don't want to pop, what you got to do is push the connector forward. Like, you want to push it in like this, pop that connector, and then pull it off. I can't see what that guy looks like back there, but we're gonna give it a go. There we go. Now, with the harness out of the way, there are two things you need to disconnect in order to move this line. There's a 13 mil right here. Of course, it blends in with all the rust. And there's one further down the line right there. That's the top of it. So I'm gonna reposition the camera so you guys can see what the hell we're gonna do. Once we get that guy out of the way, we'll be able to drop this line down and be able to access our starter with relatively no issues. Get your wonderful 13 mil. Oh, this is harder than I expected because I'm not at the right height. If you have power tools, more power to you. Oh, you mother. Oh, all the sludge is helping keep our starter bolt, or that stupid bolt, connected to the car. Here's another tip: if you are in underneath the car, make sure that you have glasses on, because whatever crap, salt, dirt, grit, shit that will make its way off of the car will definitely try to make its way into your eyes, which sucks. Also, a flex head will greatly increase your sanity and decrease the risk of you losing your sanity, because, well, you can do this with it. This guy's getting stubborn right at the end, which means he needs some help via chemical. In case you haven't realized why it is mechanics hate working on the floor, it's because I have to support my big fat head while I continue to do this job. And let me tell you, that is no easy task, my friends. Okay, fuck it. I'm gonna get my ratchet. I shall be back. Yeah, air ratchet is a good solution, but it'll make too much noise and blow shit into my eyes. So I've opted for this guy, which does this. When I do this, makes your life so much easier. Unless the bolt is tight, like this piece of shit is, and then it just, well, it's still a pain in the ass. Okay, wonderful. Get that stupid bucket of shit out of there. Now, let's change our attention to the next bolt. That's our next bolt. Oh, why aren't you? What is your fucking? Okay, I don't know what the hell's going on here, but this guy is seized to this P-clip, which is not fucking cool. Yeah, this is part of the joys of being a mechanic. Just when you think it's going to be a simple fucking bolt that can come out like every other bolt, yeah, no, it's not happening. This guy here is seized inside of there, so we're gonna get a hammer and just tap this bitch to see if we can break it loose a bit. Once you get that one out there, there's another one that I missed that is back here. Anyhow, we're gonna go do some tap, and I shall be back. Well, as you can see here, we have a broken stud in the transmission, and that's because Volkswagen, in its infinite wisdom, was smart enough to put a stud in there with a really small keyway. Unfortunately, though, they made that out of steel. It was nice that they made this out of stainless steel because, well, this doesn't rot, but that shit does. And when it does, it welds itself to this. The other end of that stud is currently in the socket where it broke off. So we're going to do the logical thing and replace this crap with a bolt. We're going to have to bend the crap out of this guy to make it round again, and yeah. Anyhow, with that effect, your line should be able to come down like so, and don't yank on it like a crazy person. Remember, it is a solid line, and you don't want it to get damaged in any way. Now, we can go ahead and access our starter without an issue. In case you're wondering, this is also a 15 mil, and well, the reason why mechanics have so many goddamn wrenches so that we could do that to them and thin them out so that they'll fit on things like that. That is the wrong size, yes. And I thought it was a 13 mil because, you know, whatever. But yeah, let's not talk about that now. Anyhow, let's go ahead now and move on to our starter. No, I was wrong. It is a 16 mil. God, stupid Volkswagen. Okay, so what we are looking at is the back of the starter. This guy here is the electrode that comes from our battery, and that guy there is the signal that comes from your ignition switch. What we need to do is first release that little lock pin sort of thing up top there, and then there is the same kind of fashion of pin that holds this guy here. You're gonna need to release that guy and then pull back on this wonderful contraption. Now, just remember, all the years of grit and crap, well, they're there to give you a headache, so be careful. There we go. Of course, you should have strong ab muscles, because if you don't, well, yeah, it's gonna make your life considerably harder. I'm much older than I used to be, so yeah, I don't have ab muscles. I've got what's called a dad bod, or a one pack. It's formed by many years of drinking and neglect. Anyhow, with our 13 mil exposed, go ahead and crank it off. And of course, there is that compressor just on time to ruin my clip. Now, this guy here should never be overly tight. If it is, well, I mean, it doesn't really matter because the starter's going with a rebuilder anyhow. If it is, for whatever reason, just be careful and try not to damage this wire piece here by twisting it. It's very rare, but it can happen. Usually not on German or Japanese cars, but anyhow, that's useless information. Move that guy out of the way. Now, just imagine if you didn't listen and continued to have your power cable attached and you just went like this and went and screwed up your main fuse. Well, you'd be in tears, so don't skip that step. Now, there is another 13 mil that's right down here. You're gonna go ahead, remove that, and then this bracket here will come out of place. You know what? This is why God made extensions. Get a 6-inch or 2 3-inch extensions, add them together to get 6, and then just crank this baby off. Oh, good Lord. Fucking hate rust tight. Get one of these, an extendo ratchet. Makes your life so much easier when you get these tough bolts. There you go, see? And now, you have a power tool. Wonderful. And now, get that guy out of the way. Now, you have an 18 mil here. You also, pretty sure, have an 18 mil up top here on the opposite side of the starter motor. I can't physically see it. I will try to get it on camera and show you guys that it is there. If there is no 18 mil on top here, there will be on the opposite side of the engine a bolt that holds it. And I can't find one, so I'm pretty sure it is up top there. Can I feel it? I can't feel it. I can't feel it. Yeah, no, I don't feel it. Okay, so yeah, this guy here is a super long one, and the up top one I'm pretty sure is the same thing. Anyhow, let's go locate it before I talk some more crap that just didn't make any sense. Okay, so off in the distance there, right there, is our 13 mil. You got to get rid of that 13 mil and separate whatever bracket's there, and then there'll be an 18 mil behind it. I'm gonna try and do this on camera. You definitely will need a 6-inch extension. Oh, yeah. Well, try your best not to bash the camera if you are filming this. And now, crank that bitch loose. Now, I'll tell you right now, you will not be able to see this. So if you're having a hard time catching it, you can definitely get a friend who can hold the camera so that you can see it, because it is actually helping me quite a bit in trying to get this goddamn thing out. Because on top there, it basically holds this plastic bit that holds all your wires and whatnot, which, you know, I don't know why they design shit the way that they do, but hey, I'm a mechanic, not an engineer. Actually, I wanted to become an engineer, but the Ontario government wasn't very helpful with that, nor there was any of the college programs that were available here in Canada. But that's a story for another day. Make sure you... Of course not. I was just gonna say, make sure you get that stupid 13 mil off, but whatever. Oh, great. Something else is holding that stupid bracket. Anyhow, get my fat hand in there. Oh no, I did get it off. Where the fuck is it? Okay, yeah, it's inside my socket. Now, what I'm gonna have to do is go to the top, figure out what the hell else is holding this stupid piece of plastic, because I don't remember this shit from the older generation crap. But see if I can just separate this by pushing it back. I don't... What the hell else is holding you? Huh? Stubborn pile of shite. Anyhow, I shall be back. Okay, so to get that stupid bracket off, it's going to be much easier to do it from the top. Essentially, it's just the plastic that holds all the wires. You're going to have to kind of slide that piece of plastic forward. You're going to have to slide it off of the stud and then pull up on it and just rest it on top of the starter. It's not a hard thing to do. It is from the bottom. You got to do that from up top. There, you can see in the distance is our 18 mil. Grab a 6-inch extension, a ratchet, an 18 mil deep socket, and crank that guy off. Yeah, not fun to do on the floor, but thank you to... Oh, good fuck. That is tight. But because of the snow, we're having no choice but to do this on the floor, which sucks balls. It sucks the gonococcus. Oh, I can't get good leverage on this like this. My camera's in the way of where I would usually do this, so I think I'm gonna have to move this so I can get my camera out of the way. That way I can really crank this guy. I shall be back, but pull that guy out. Okay, now, obviously, once you get your top bolt, which is this guy here, you're gonna wind out this bolt. Now, these are quite long, and they are torqued to, well, I don't know what the torque is. It's probably like 40 or 50 foot-pounds. But over time, with the rust that develops on these stupid things and the length of the bolt, when you go to crank this thing out, you will get what's basically a lot of pushback from the ratchet. So when you crank it, the bolt is going to jump back. So just be aware of that, because it can hurt your wrist or your elbow pretty damn good. You're also going to need to crank this stupid thing off with a relatively long ratchet, because it's under quite a bit of load. Once you get your top bolt and your bottom bolt separated, pulling them out isn't really hard. The top bolt is kind of hard, especially if it's kind of left like that in the bore, because as you saw in the car, it's a royal pain in the ass to kind of access this area here. Now, of course, once you do, just pull it out. You can use a magnet, whatever. It's a little bit harder in the car because there's, you know, the flange for the transmission and whatnot. Grind that rust and crap off, apply some anti-seize, and then you can go ahead and put your new starter in. Now, I've got a weight on my starter. I'll show you what the issue is with our starter. As you can see there, the starter teeth have ground off. So this is I don't know if it's a common one with the Volkswagens, but this guy seems to be operating okay. It had a little bit of noise from the back of the starter motor, which is kind of that whine when the car does start. It kind of goes, That's a terrible description of it, but that's the noise that you hear, and that usually indicates that you have a starter motor that is going. I haven't seen this before, but I don't do too many Volkswagens, so, you know, I'm definitely not an expert on them. Ask me about some Subaru crap, I might have an answer. That doesn't really make me sound like a Subaru guy, but anyhow, point is, yeah, that's our issue. I don't know 100% whether this is a common issue with these things, but if it is, that's pretty crappy. Anyhow, when I get my new starter, I will show you guys how to put that thing back in. All right. Welcome back. It's been a good 2 hours of running around in the snowstorm to pick this thing up and grabbing some lunch, which was amazing. And it's been about 10 milliseconds for you. This is our rebuild starter. As you can see here, we have a nice new gear. What you need to do before you chuck this thing into your car is test it. Now, I have showed how to do the test procedure on a starter motor before in one of my other videos, and I'll link that down below. But essentially, you hook your jumper cables up to a battery. You can use the battery from the car and test it. Make sure it's all good to go. Of course, you should also have some bolts that are prepared, like so. You can see how wonderfully clean and anti-seize they are. All right, I'm gonna go test this thing and then we'll chuck it in the car. And if it is not a good starter, well, I'll show you the starter size hole that goes through a windshield. Well, instead of just linking the other video, I'll just show you quickly. Basically, testing procedure for any starter is exactly the same. You want to hook up your wires just like so. Black wire to the body of the starter, your red lead or positive lead to this guy here. When you hook them up, there should be 0 spark. If there is, starter is garbage. Now, you gotta get a crocodile wire and you're gonna stick it on to this little terminal inside that guy there. Then you're gonna take this guy here, the other end of it, you're gonna touch it to any positive terminal. So it could be by the battery or this guy here. And then your starter should come to life. Now, if this doesn't happen or it sounds funny, you got a shitty starter. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I will now begin the process of putting that godforsaken thing back into this bucket of fun. Yeah. Let the trauma begin. Now, one of the things that I did not show you on camera was me spinning the engine and making sure that this flywheel doesn't have any missing teeth. Now, yes, the flywheel is ugly, but at the risk of, at the cost really of doing a new flywheel, it just doesn't make sense for us to go ahead and pull it off just because it's a little ugly. The majority of the tooth is there and I don't think there'll be an issue. So we're going to go ahead and reuse our flywheel. It is imperative that you check yours to make sure that it is good, because if it is not good, you're not going to be a happy camper if there's a tooth missing. You will destroy your starter. Now, if there are no teeth missing and you've got a little bit of galling, just make sure you take a flat screwdriver and clear off any debris with your screwdriver. In case you're wondering, you will need a 19mm 12-point socket to turn the engine from the crankshaft. And if you don't have one of those, well, you're gonna have to buy one, because there's pretty much no other way that I can think of to turn the engine. No other way. At least nothing in my head. That makes me sound retarded. Oh boy, I can't say that word anymore. I'm just gonna end this. Okay, now, when trying to put in the starter motor, VW has put all this stupid bracketry around. Now this guy here, not really a pain in the ass. The counterpart up top here though, on the other hand, is a royal pain in the ass. What you need to do is sneak the starter into place and then make sure that this bracket is behind that ear or this section here of the starter. Now obviously, it is a pain in the ass to go ahead and show you guys that on camera. I will try my best, but you saw how hard it was to show you the bolt. Oh yeah. Okay, now I think I might have got it one shot. Look at that. You can see how I tell you, kind of twisted it there. Yeah, we got it one shot. Great. All right, spectacular. Now take this guy here, your nice anti-seized bolt, slide it into the bottom slot and thread it up. You're just gonna get it snug, so if you have to adjust it just a bit, you can. Now if you tighten it up and for whatever reason you need to kind of wiggle the starter back and forth, you'll just end up, loosening it up again, which is kind of pointless. So yeah, don't do that. Now, of course, double check to make sure that stupid bracket up top is behind the starter. Yeah, perfect. Now, grab that 18mm and your gun and just... Oh, you motherfucker. What is your... There we go. Remember, nice and gentle. Make sure you can move the starter. Let's adjust it by hand. You want it snug, not tight. Okay, so I can move it back and forth now. Now, same sort of thing when you're sliding in the top bolt. What you need to do is make sure that air, or that little bracket that holds all your wires, is not in the way. You won't be able to put the damn bolt in, and you don't want to tighten that bolt up with that air between the starter and the bolt. Let's move the camera there so you could kind of understand what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, so you can see there exactly what I'm talking about. That hole is where our bolt needs to go, and this stupid bracket is in the way. So you gotta lift this son of a bitch out like this, and you gotta slide this mother in there. Okay. Oh, and of course you're doing this all blind. Okay, now I'm gonna try that from on top. Try to set it on top of the starter because I can't do this shit properly. Okay, there you go. You can see what you want to do is just rest the starter bracket, or that stupid electrical bracket that no one could figure out that they could put somewhere else in the world of Volkswagen. What you want to do is just rest it on top of the starter and then slide that guy into the hole, like so. Always thread it in by hand. If you've anti-seized it or lubed it up, it should go in nice and easily. If it doesn't, well, you got some problems. Oh. The nice thing about using the camera is, besides it being in the way and me always hitting it, I can, oh for fuck's sakes, I can use the camera to see what the hell I'm doing. Oh. Okay. All right. Now, I'm gonna go and get my wonderful torque wrench. I'll be back. I'm also gonna need to get a fucking neck adjustment. You're gonna grab your torque wrench. You're gonna set it to 48 foot-pounds or 65 newton meters. Make sure you torque these stupid things. And don't just torque the hell out of him because you're angry with the stupid design that some crackhead came up with. Trust me, I know it's easy to want to do that. Now, from on top, you're gonna grab that stupid bracket and slide it into place. I can't see shit. I think I got it there. I think I got it. Now, one of the dumb things, well, another stupid thing that Volkswagen did is this guy here this thing does not have a washer or a lip. And I'm sorry, but I can't really get it to focus right now because it's on autofocus. But this guy here doesn't have a lip. So if you use a deep socket, you're going to be in deep shit because you won't be able to freaking set this guy onto there. So use a shallow socket to get it into place. Grab your 6-inch extension or 2 3-inch extensions. Put that stupid bolt into the socket and thread it into place. Did I get it on? Nope. Sometimes the bracket isn't all the way on, so you gotta, persuade it with a little bit of grunt. I think I got it on now, but let's see. Yeah, it feels like it's on. Yeah, it's on. Okay, so continue to thread it on. Come on, stupid thing. I'm starting to shake violently because my abdominal section doesn't really exist anymore. You know what I mean? Now, for all those stupid 13mm bolts and nuts that are on the transmission, it is the same torque for all of them. 16 foot-pounds or 22 newton meters. Yeah, this is another thing you never want to over torque, because if for whatever reason you have to go ahead and change the starter out, well, it'll be a pain in the ass. Okay, finally, the shit part is done. Now you can go ahead and connect your starter. Hopefully you don't have a crack like this one does here. You can see that right there. Anyhow, slide it into place. Make sure you hear that click. Now, let's go ahead and get our positive cable. That way we feel a little bit more positive about ourselves and why we're rolling around on the floor. Now, I couldn't find a torque spec for this, but that's on a copper or usually a copper or brass stud, so you don't want to be too tight. I would torque this thing to 10 foot-pounds or 13 newton meters, I think is what that works out to, but I will definitely put the correct newton meter spec in the video. Now, whatever you do not over torque it, because you will break that stud internally or externally if you're a real crazy person. And another good thing is to make sure you go ahead and add some grease or anti-seize to that section there because it'll prevent it from corroding, as well as make sure you have a good connection that isn't going to corrode. Perfect. Don't forget this stupid little piece of plastic, because otherwise it will be homeless and that's no fun. Yeah, there we go. And now we can move to the bottom end of the starter. 48 foot-pounds or 65 Newton meters. Okay, set the stupid bracket into place. That's for this guy here. Oh my God. You just gotta keep telling yourself that God loves you and he's putting you through a test. And that's exactly why you're doing these stupid things to yourself. It somehow helps you get through it. Because if you don't tell yourself that, oh, good Lord. You know how many new forms of, I'm not gonna talk about drugs, that's, no. You know, I keep hearing all these crazy things out there, man. TikTok, it's one of those weird, crazy places. You know, you find so many things that are true and legitimate, and then you find so many weird crackhead things. It's just, you know, conspiracy theory heaven, I guess. Okay. As for this guy here, 16 foot-pounds or 22 Newton meters. Same for that guy up here. Now we can go ahead and set our transmission line into place. Okay, there we go. All right, let's set it into place. Why are you doing this transmission line? What is your problem? Like, what have I done to you? Okay. Oh. Now, go ahead and twist that guy into place. Beyond. Okay. And now what you gotta do is somehow get the back one into place. Okay, with that guy threaded in by hand, get your P-clips and all the rest of it into place. Okay, so if you for some reason end up with this sort of bullshit where, you know, stupid. Anyhow, you're gonna not throw this piece of garbage away because finding that stud proves to be quite challenging. You're going to bash the crap out of this thing until it resembles what is a P-clip again. And then when you drill out the hole so that this guy will fit inside that hole, you're gonna have these two tabs that separate. What you're going to do is use those two tabs as a washer on the one side. Now, I pray to God you genuinely do not have to go through this bullshit. If you do, please follow this advice. And if you come up with something that is better, please let me know. All right, with that guy in place, take those washers. You're gonna slide this guy through like so. Start it up. Keep on threading. And now you line it up with the hole and you thread it up. Now this sounds easier than it actually is because this is a very stupid design. Anyhow, you get the point. Thread it into the hole. I'll be back when I finish it. Okay, if you're using the stock bolt, 16 mil or a 5/8. Thread it up. We're gonna torque it to the same spec as all the other bolts. 16 foot-pounds or 22 Newton meters. If the washers rotate, no biggie. Just make sure it doesn't cut your hand. That's all that really matters. Oh, set your other P-clip into place. You want to make sure that thing doesn't, you know, come apart. I would get you a better shot, but it's pretty self-explanatory, and it's more of a pain in the ass for me to move the camera than for you to figure out where that goddamn bolt is. I should have run this up with a smaller ratchet. That, my friends, was a stupid decision. Dunzo. All right, now fire this 13 mil home. Hey, fuck off, all right? 1622. Now let's do our wonderful connectors. Do not forget your transmission connectors because you'll probably have a small heart attack when your computer says your transmission doesn't work anymore. Give it the tug test to make sure it does not disconnect. Because like I was saying earlier, the connectors, they like to have their rubber gasket swell up and you might not be able to get them on. When I say the tug test, do not yank on the wires. Make sure you yank on the connector itself. Not overly hard. It's just a regular connector. Okay, let's go ahead. Oh God. You know, holding up my fat head is more of a task than doing the actual starter. God, I wish it wasn't snowing out there. We would have did this thing on the hoist. It would have made my life easier and quicker. Anyhow, our next step, go ahead, connect our battery, and test this bad boy out. Okay, positive cable first. I do not know what the torque spec is. Just don't tighten it up like a monkey and break the thing. Because, you know, if you do, that would suck. Give it the wiggle test. Make sure it doesn't wiggle. Because if it does, it's a too loose. Get your negative cable. Slide it onto place. Oh shit, the car's making a noise. It's a come to life. Now just tighten it up. Same thing. Don't break it. Do the wiggle. And now we can go ahead and start this baby up. Slide this guy back into place. Okay, fire it up. We have a running car, ladies and gentlemen. I will call that a success. All right, shut her off. All right. That's a job well done. And for all you naysayers who are going to jump on me about the flywheel, well, now's your time just to avoid putting down a stupid comment and disappear into the darkness. All right, let's go ahead and put this thing down. Sounds like the car's crying. That's a good indicator in case you don't know. Whenever you sort of hear a metal noise or kind of clanging, that means your jack stand has separated from the wheel. Don't be a crazy person. Slowly let your car down. There we go. High five. Well, that's all she wrote for this one. Hopefully you found it informative as well as entertaining. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. And as always, thanks for watching. We will see you in the next one. Welcome back to the sweatshop, boys and girls. You know what? No more boys and girls today. Fuck it. Welcome back to the sweatshop. Today we're going to be working on this wonderful 2008 VW Golf. VW means Volkswagen. I should probably say that. For those of you who watch my videos, you'll notice that I don't have my parts bench, and that's because it's a snow day outside and my truck is currently pushed all the way up to the front of my shop, which doesn't leave me any room to get my parts bench out. Of course, this is irrelevant information for those of you who have never watched my videos at home. Hopefully you find it oddly amusing somehow, and you fucking compressor. The reason baby.
I already damaged my new phone.
Did you? Oh fuck, man. I fucking hate that compressor. Big expense because your transmission has to get separated so you can change your flywheel. What the I ran away with that. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying now. Now, before you go ahead and start trying to take off your starter motor, you have two high voltage, well, not high voltage. Negative cable always disconnect first. Negative cable always gets disconnected last when you're putting the battery back together. That wasn't so clear. It's kind of confusing to me. When you are disconnecting your battery, do the negative cable first. And when you are connecting your battery, you want to do the positive cable. When you are connecting your battery, this is going to be a long fucking video if I keep up like this. Hello. I really wish I had my fucking air ratchet right now. You gotta be fucking kidding me right now. Seriously? Well, let's give the camera some time to settle the fuck down. Stupid Germans. I can't say that. It went like this and went and fucked your goddamn. I'll show you what the issue is with. You're gonna get a crocodile wire. I said crocodile weird, didn't I? Crocodile wawa. What you're gonna have to do is, of course, spin your engine, and you're gonna look through one of the cracks in the You know what? I'll explain that. I should explain that now, cause yeah. Let's clear some of that shit out. Fuck! Alright, let's reposition this damn camera. What you need to do is basically sneak the starter... Snarter? Fuck. The fuck is that 18 mil? There we go. Fucking piece of shit. Like, who designs this shit, you know? They couldn't have fucking put this stupid thing in a better place, like on the top of the tranny. Fucking morons. Yeah, would it kill them to make another fucking bracket? Oh, let's attach it to the start there. Huh? Come on, Hans. After you stick that bolt in my bumsicle, just fucking, you know? Fucking morons, I swear to God. 30, oh, for fuck's sakes. Fucking BMW. I know it sounds like I'm saying BMW. Really, I mean, they're all the same shit, to be honest. They're both stupid. As for this guy here, and when I say tug to, don't yank, tug to.